So members of the House worked early into the early hours of the morning so they could work out the details of the Limit, Save, Grow Act. That, as I mentioned, now onto the House floor, voting as we speak. Joining me now by phone to talk about this, Congressman Scott Perry. He serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, House Transportation Infrastructure Committee. He's also the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus that's played a key role in bringing votes together for this. Congressman Perry, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks, Tony, and thanks to the FRC. Listen, like you said, voting is happening right now. And, for most people, this is just another day in the saga of Washington. But to frame this correctly, as far as I know, in modern times, this has never happened before. This is yet another one of the things that has never happened before, like single subject bills that came out of the Speaker's contest earlier this year. So for the first time, we are voting to raise the debt ceiling, but this is the first time that there is a requirement to actually cut spending at the same time. And if you even go back to, I think it was 2011, with cut, cap, and balance,
right,
there were no real cuts in the first year, and everything was essentially capped.
Right.
Now, that didn't prevail because, what happened in the Senate. But, the prevailing wisdom in Washington is that the House of Representatives has to cave in to Joe Biden and to Chuck Schumer in the Senate and just raise this debt ceiling because we can't pass something. We have a very narrow majority, as you know, Tony, and we have worked for months and right up until about 4 o'clock in the morning last night to get this thing to where we can pass it. And, Tony, it is the beginning of the conversation. But what it does is it says to the president, who has said all along, I will not negotiate and I don't have to negotiate because you can't pass anything. It shows him that we can pass something and he has no choice except to negotiate. We are not going to be raising the debt ceiling and continuing this trajectory of unbridled spending for things that we can't afford and actually don't want. And the House is going to put a marker down. We don't know where it's going to end right now, Tony, but this is quite honestly, another historic moment in modern times here in Congress, where we are bucking the trend, and in a circumstance where we have one portion of the legislature, and generally speaking, we're supposed to be in a completely defensive posture. We are on offense, and I will also take some pride in this, Tony. 90% of this bill has been written by the House Freedom Caucus, and we are driving and pulling our entire conference, and with this, the entire Congress to the right side of principles that we cannot keep spending and bankrupting our country. We cannot keep spending on things that provide the ammunition for the government to be weaponized against its citizens. And so this really is a landmark occasion at this moment. I don't want to celebrate it because it is raising the debt ceiling moderately, but this does set a different tone in Washington, D.C. that we haven't really seen in our lifetime.
And I will vouch for all of that. You are absolutely correct. I've watched this process for 20 years. I've even watched the Republicans when they were in the majority and they had the numbers. I mean, as you said, you have a very narrow margin to work with. I was talking to the House Speaker last night, and he was a few votes short. And it looks like some of those in the Iowa caucus came along over the ethanol issue. But the reality is, even when Republicans had a large margin to work with, they never drove a stake in the ground and stood on principle. That is a sea change here in Washington, D.C.
You're absolutely right. And I will tell you this. Look, like I said, this is the beginning of the conversation, but almost predictably, we're going to hear that the Senate doesn't want to take it up, and this is dead on arrival, and so on and so forth, coming from a Senate that has provided no work in this matter, has produced no product, but they think that they're going to be able to tell the American people, no, the House just has to eat it. Well, the House has just passed something, or is about to pass something. Let me just say that. The House is about to pass something, but when we do, it's not the House that's going to have to accept this clean debt ceiling and just continued unbridled spending. It is the Senate that's going to have to sit down and get to work and actually do something responsible and literally stick up for the American people, as opposed to thumbing their nose at what the American people actually want. Look, you got to train people that have not been on a winning team before what winning looks like. And Tony, you're seeing this. It started in January. It is now the end of April. And look, I think we're on a roll here, and this is progress for the American people. This is a reason to be optimistic, even in the face of horrific leadership coming out of the White House and those policies that come with it. There looks like there's a reason to be optimistic because there is some light at the end of the tunnel. The Republicans are in the fight. We need to make sure that we steel the speaker's spine so that once the Senate comes back with something that we can't accept, that we do not accept it, and we force them to do the right thing.
Well, and so far, as you said, from January, we've seen a succession of decisions that the speaker has made. He has stuck to his word. He has kept his word. The Senate, they're fear-mongering. I mean, that's the only thing they fall back on. But here's something they need to consider. The Republicans have actually kept their word and done exactly what they said they were going to do when they elected this speaker. So they need to realize, I don't think you guys are going to cave.
Well, that's the point. We're not going to cave. And so especially for those weak-kneed senators over there that always work with the Democrats, this is a message to them that you need to stick with your Republican colleagues that are conservative, that want to do the work of the American people, and drag those Democrats out into the open and make sure that everybody knows if they're not going to vote with the American people and they're going to continue to vote to bankrupt the country, that there are going to be consequences. And that's going to start very soon in the primary season, and they're going to be put on notice. So this not only encourages the American people that there's a fight and there's a fighting spirit in this House of Representatives, but that can be translated to the Senate. Yeah. And that, we can expect our senators, and now we do expect our senators to stand up and stand for us.
Definitely needed. Definitely needed. Chairman Scott Perry, thanks so much for stepping off the floor to talk with us.
Absolutely. God bless you. Thank you so much.
All right. Scott Perry of Pennsylvania.